I didn't sleep well that night, but it didn't really matter anyway. My father made me stay home so I could process what happened or whatever. I honestly don't feel safe around him anymore. It's like he's an entirely different person. I snooped around in his room and found some strange documents about some research facility. I'm not completely sure, but I didn't get a good look at it, as my father was about to enter the room. I hid in the closet until he left, which took a painfully long time. As I went back into my room, I remembered the rules my father had given me, and realised I had probably broken rule number 4. I had screamed when I saw one of the creatures, but that didn't explain how those creatures got in downstairs. But I assumed that the door wasn't locked, or that my father had responded to the things too. I walked out of my room and attempted to open the door. No lock. My father had locked us both inside the house for some reason. I searched for my father to confront him, but he had left the cabin without me realising. "Dad!" I yelled, but got no response. I looked out the window to see that the sun was setting. My heart dropped as I realised that my dad's shotgun was also gone. I watched as the sun completely disappeared on the horizon. Night was approaching. I banged on the front door, desperately hoping that it would break and I could go find my father. It was a stupid idea, but surprisingly, it worked. I felt a rush of cool air as I realised how cold it was. I went to get a coat, but went against it as my father could be in danger at this very moment. I ran off to the tree line behind the cabin and looked for any signs of my father. I saw that there were footprints in the ground that resembled my father's boots. I followed the trail into the forest. After following the trail for a while, I started seeing shadows in the corner of my eye. I shuddered at the thought of me being chased and started picking up my pace. The shadows seemed to be getting closer and closer until I could almost swear I was seeing them. I kept running when suddenly the shadows hurled forward and landed a couple of feet in front of me. I heard a guttural screech that made me sick to my stomach. I watched as 5 giant spiders crawled towards me. "No, no, 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 no!" I screamed, as they were about a foot away from me now. Suddenly, I watched as the ground beneath me started cracking and 2 giant brown claws emerged from the ground and crushed all 5 spiders, and then tried to attack me as well. I barrel rolled out of the way just in time to dodge the giant claws as they crashed back into the earth. Seeing that danger was at every corner, I ran faster as I continued following my father's footsteps, and they eventually led me into a clearing. The clearing was pretty empty except for a small warehouse in the middle of it. I ran to it and opened the door to see my father on an old-looking computer typing in a report file. "Dad," I said, before immediately getting cut off. "What the hell are you doing here, Travis?" he yelled hysterically. We both turned to the open door behind us to see about 8 large shadows heading in our direction. You led him to us," he screamed as he grabbed his shotgun. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I was just worried about you. You broke one of the rules," I protested. "You're right. I should not have provoked them in the first place. I wish I didn't have to burden you with this, Travis," he sighed. "Burden me with what?" I asked. "Go to the computer and type in 1001. It will send an emergency response team to this location, and maybe, just maybe, we will be saved. Stay in the warehouse and do not leave," he commanded. "Dad, wait! What about you?" I asked. But he was already gone. "I am going to distract them for as long as possible," he shouted back at me. We parted ways as I closed and locked the warehouse door. I quickly typed in 1001 on the computer, and a code orange was sent to someone called Site Director. I quickly turned to the only window in the warehouse and stared out, hoping I could see if my father was okay. All I saw was the impossible amount of shadows headed towards where my father ran. I hadn't even heard any gunshots yet. I tried to process what was happening as I sat down on the floor and started hyperventilating. During the past couple of days, I've been questioning my sanity as these shadow spiders, or whatever, were stalking me and my father. Now, I'm trapped in my dad's secret warehouse, where he works for some kind of facility. I tried to wrap my head around all of this when I heard the first gunshot. followed by a screech so loud that my ears felt like they were on fire. I covered my ears as more gunshots rang out into the night, as well as several more screeches. After a while, to my horror, I stopped hearing any gunshots. I heard the sound of scuttling feet, way too many feet, as the shadows approached the warehouse. I stopped looking out of the window at this point and hid under my father's desk as the shadows climbed around the warehouse, searching for a way inside. I saw that a shadow had blocked out the window's light, and I knew the end was near. Surprisingly, I faintly heard the sounds of a helicopter in the distance, followed by what felt like a minigun, barreling many bullets into the hull of the warehouse, obliterating many of the shadows in the process. Someone kicked down the door and searched the room. It took a couple more seconds before the person found me and escorted me out of the warehouse. They told me to get into the helicopter, and all I could do was follow their instructions. We flew for what felt like hours, and eventually we landed on top of some large building that looked like some abandoned office complex. Me and 4 other people climbed down a ladder that led to the front door of a building. I asked if my father was okay, but I was ignored and ushered into some kind of large closet that held a single bed with a desk, a chair, a computer, and a bookcase filled with books about a bunch of random things like A Beginner's Guide to Cryptozoology and How to Shoot a Gun. These books were strange, but luckily I also found some comic books. I wanted answers, but I was stuck in this room, and I had no more control in this situation. For the first time in a long time, I cried. This whole situation seemed like some sort of fever dream, and I don't even know if my father is okay. Yeah, he might have been drunk a lot, but still, he was my father. I banged on the door, but it was locked and made of what looks like steel. I guess the silver lining here is that the computer allows me access to the internet. So I'm posting again, like I promised. I'm not sure what to do at this point, but I will keep in touch with you all.